These white pouches may be the future of the tobacco industry, but there's no tobacco inside. These are Zyn nicotine pouches. The oral nicotine product comes in these cans. You may have seen them for sale in convenience stores, gas stations, and even your local pharmacy, or on social media where they've birthed a devoted subculture. Over the past year, sales of Zyn have skyrocketed. In the fourth quarter of 2023, 116 million cans were sold in the US, a 78% increase over the same period a year earlier. But Zyn's remarkable success has provoked a backlash and thrust it into the culture war. Many people see it as a threat. So, what can we learn about Zyn when we test it in a lab, and how transformative a product could Zyn be for the tobacco industry? We're going to be finding out what's in Zyn. We're going to be analyzing the samples on the mass spectrometer. A mass spectrometer is capable of weighing the exact mass of a molecule so that you can determine the composition of the chemical structure and identify what is in a sample. In the data analysis software, we see a series of peaks. There is a common peak that's in all of the samples, and it's the most abundant peak in all the samples that is our nicotine peak. Based on these tests, nicotine is the bioactive molecule in Zyn, and the nicotine is the only tobacco-related alkaloid that we can see in this product. Zyn looks like a little tea bag. It's a tiny little white pouch that tucks inside the cheek and inside. There's no tobacco leaf. There is cellulose or wood pulp, along with some artificial sweeteners and flavorings and nicotine. In January, Senator Chuck Schumer called for a federal crackdown on the pouches. This scrutiny has in turn triggered another chapter in America's cultural war, with some on the right declaring as insurrection. Senator Tom Tillis responded on X with a message that said, "Come and take it, Chuck." Fueling Zyn's rise are self-styled influencers who feature the nicotine pouches in their social media content. Unlike cigarette brands, nicotine pouch brands are permitted to advertise on billboards and television. And unlike e-cigarettes such as Juul, they're sold in fruity flavors. There are lots of brands of pouches on the market, including Rogue, Velo, and Lucy, but it's Zyn that has emerged as the Kleenex of nicotine pouches. In 2022, tobacco giant Philip Morris International acquired Swedish Match in a $16 billion deal. Just last year, Philip Morris shipped 385 million Zyn cans in the US, and this year, the company forecasts shipment volumes of about 520 million cans. Zyn now represents 24% of the smokeless category, which includes traditional smokeless tobacco such as Copenhagen, Grizzly, and Skoal. Nicotine pouches are still in their early days in terms of their share of the overall tobacco market. They still would have a long way to go to really take a bite out of cigarettes. Despite the brand's success, Zyn's unofficial brand ambassadors have created a headache for Zyn's owner Philip Morris. The most famous influencers is Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host. He is sort of a self-appointed and unofficial Zyn brand spokesman. In October, Tucker Carlson made unfounded claims that Zyn helps with focus and erectile dysfunction. Philip Morris has pushed back very hard on these claims and has actually sort of asked his team to cease and desist on that. Philip Morris said it has reached out to social media influencers, asking them not to promote Zyn in any form, but the audience includes people under 21. The company said its products are intended for adults who already use nicotine. Senator Schumer's interest in Zyn is related to his long-standing interest in tobacco control, especially the risk to youths. However, the national survey data tells us that kids are not really using this product at significantly high levels, so there's not really evidence for any kind of epidemic. A 2023 study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that around 1.5% of middle school and high school students reported using nicotine pouches in the last 30 days. Some public health experts say nicotine pouches like Zyn could save lives by helping adult cigarette smokers switch to a much safer alternative. According to the FDA, nicotine is addictive, but by itself, it doesn't cause cancer or lung disease. But we don't really 100% know what the long-term effects of nicotine use are. However, we do have some pretty good indications from evidence that comes from other parts of the world. So, for example, the country of Sweden is famous for using a product called Swedish snus. Snus is a moist, pasteurized, smokeless, oral tobacco product which is placed under the lip to deliver nicotine through the gums. It's been used by consumers in Sweden since the 1970s. And this is a product that's in some ways is similar to Zyn. It's actually the precursor to Zyn, and it's known to be much less toxic compared to other oral tobacco products. Since snus pouches were first introduced in Sweden in 1973, smoking rates have fallen considerably. Sweden now has the lowest smoking rate of all of the European Union countries. They also now have the lowest rates of smoking-related cancer, so that people who use clean nicotine products are much less likely to develop serious diseases that we know are related to smoking. So Schumer asked the FDA to investigate, and the FDA already has been conducting a review of ZYN because all nicotine pouch manufacturers were required to submit their products for FDA review in order to get authorization to keep them on the US market. If the agency does authorize a nicotine pouch, the authorization might come with marketing and flavor restrictions.